after weeks, when his supplies were finished. After on, we will describe the event, the main body of the question. That is that how he received revelation, in which we will talk that during 610 AD, it was one of the nights of Ramadan, mostly the 27th night of Ramadan. The angel Jibreel arrived and he told Prophet peace be upon him to read. However, Prophet replied, I do not know how to read. That was because Prophet was an Ummi who cannot read or write. However, Prophet was Angel Jibreel asked Prophet to read again, but the Prophet's reply was the same. He said he couldn't read. It continued for a second time until the third time. Angel Jibreel pressed and suffocated Prophet so hard that he said, and like Prophet quoted, you should include it in your answer. That Prophet quoted, my ribcage would collapse. After that, he went on and Prophet replied to Angel Jibreel, what shall I read? Therefore, after this, Angel Jibreel told the first five verses of Surah Al. And I will like to tell you that these 5 verses are really important. Because if you will not write them, I don't mean you have to write it completely. You can write first 2 verses and then you can put that colons after your answer. So it means that your answer is continued. But writing first 2 and the last one is very important. Without that, the examiner will not consider your question a level 4 marker question. For going to level 4, you need to write this. The 5 verses are, read in the name of your Lord who created man out of a clot of congealed blood. Proclaim, and your Lord is most bountiful. These verses are really important. After this, the verse came, he who taught by pen, taught men what he did not know. Now, from this point, the revolution on Prophet peace be upon him has been started. From 610 AD to next 22 year, 4 months and 16 days. Then after this, Prophet started, like he was really upset. So he decided that he would go back to his home. Prophet, while he was going back, like he was going his home towards the cave of Hira, he heard and he saw Angel Jibreel. He was in a gigantic fear, and there Angel Jibreel proclaimed to Prophet that you are the messenger of Allah, as the prophethood had been officially started on Prophet peace be upon him, and I will be the Angel Jibreel. Prophet Muhammad rushed to his home and also told Hazrat Khadija about all the scenario. Now, one important question that will arise in the mind of all of you is that how will you able to write such a lengthy question? So remember, in past papers they always give you like very lengthy answers, but you will not ever be able to write such long questions. You will have to write the main points. Like you can conclude the main points in this. First, you have to write the background. Who was Prophet? And he usually would go to Cave of Hira for the meditation. Then you will write the main body, how the revelation started on him. As the question asked, write about the events of the first revelation. So the first revelation, the most important thing to be discussed in the question, and how he was reassured afterwards, like how he was reassured that the revelation will be continued. After that, you will go on this one. It talks about it is the main body, it talks about how the revelation started, all the scenario, all the story of the first revelation. Most important part is in it. Approached Prophet to read, but he couldn't. And they are really important to be quoted in the paper. After that, Prophet reached to his home, to Hazrat Aisha, and he proclaimed the scenario. Now it is not important to write these verses. Never by Allah will never disgrace you. You keep good relations with your kin and kin, have the poor and destitute. But if you have time, like if you haven't missed any points before, you should add it. It's very important. After this, you will write her Khatija proclaimed, like accompanied Prophet to Warqa bin Nawfal. Now, who was Warqa bin Nawfal? The Warqa bin Nawfal was a pre-Islamic period Christian, and he had a grip in Hebrew letters. But you don't have to write this like Hebrew letters you can only say that Warqa bin Nawfal was a Christian scholar and cousin of Hazrat Khadija. Their Prophet proclaimed all the past events to Warqa bin Nawfal, and because Warqa had some knowledge, he reassured Prophet that he had been given the carrier of an prophet. He would have delivered all the messages of Allah, same like Allah sent his messages to Hazrat Moses. And Varka also predicted and told Prophet that he would have to face severe persecutions, oppositions during the conveying of his message. And you have seen and you will read in your syllabus like his visit to Taif and all the persecutions by the Makkans, by Abu Jahl, by Abu Sufyan. All these persecutions Varka predicted that Prophet would have to face. However, Prophet, you can say that he was surprised. As you know, Prophet Muhammad was called even before and after the prophethood. He was called the Al-Sadiq and Amin, the honest and the truthful. So he was like surprised how he could be called a liar or how people could like not believe him. So he would called like this afterwards his revelation. So now that was the first important question, that how the first revelation was received by Prophet and how he was reassured afterwards. It is really important question. It has been repeated many times in question number 2, and like it's one of the basic questions that can come in your exam. Now there is also another question right about the Prophet Muhammad's first experience. The same question, you again have to discuss all this important passage. This passage is really important. All the method and all the story of the procedure of the first revelation, and write an account for the events of the first revelation. The same thing. This all comes under the first revelation and all like the background of the first revelation. It is really important that you guys should have a good grip on it. And some students who face difficulty, so I would suggest them to learn references. They're really important, and read these questions so that you will able to compare them with your thoughts, your memory, the material you have memorized, and the things that are mentioned in this past paper question. Then comes another important question: how the Quran was how the revelation of Quran came. There are different types of revelation. First of all, the main one, it was that revelation was sent through the angel Jibril, the most important. After that comes Hazrat Daya Kalbi. He was like a companion, and many people have reported that he would sat along the Prophet and would like told word and showed that it was here in the form of Hazrat Daya Kalbi in front of Prophet talking to him. So Prophet asked me, "Do you know this man? Who is this man?" I replied, "That was Daya Kalbi." Other times, Prophet at the times Angel Jibreel would also come in the form of a Bedouin man, like an Arab native. He would come in the form of an Arab man. And once it is also quoted, this is a long reference, no need to memorize this. If you have a lot of review on the previous one, it tells Hazrat Umar said, as we were sitting one day before the Prophet, a man suddenly appeared, attired in white, and his hair was dark black, yet there was no sign of travel in it. No need to learn this. After that, you should know that Angel Jibreel would come, mostly he would come in his angelic form, like not in the form of a man. He would come spiritually to Prophet, as only Prophet could have contact with him. It was like a supernatural communication. So that's important. He would come in the form of an angel, and it is also reported by Abdullah bin Masud that once he saw Angel Jibreel, he had 600 wings. After that, uh, Prophet would also receive revelations. It was also an important source. Prophet would receive revelations in the form of dreams, like when he slept, he would hear some words or he would hear some directions that he would memorize later on. As event of Mirror, it comes that Prophet also used to receive revelation in his heart. First of all, he would receive it by Angel Jibrail. It would also receive it in the form of a companion of Prophet Daya Kalbi. Angel Jibrail would come in his form. He would also receive in his dreams, and most important, he would receive by Angel Jibrail's like in his angelic form. And then comes in the form of heart, like it is also quoted, Angel Jibrail conveyed a message into my heart. After that comes that ringing of a bell or a sound of beast, that is considered one of the most difficult ones, one of the difficult method of receiving revelation. This type of revelation was very hard. It is also quoted in the question. Add references. One reference would come when he would appear in the form of Daya Kalbi, one reference regarding when he would come in the form of angel, one when he would receive it in his heart, and the other you would see when he would receive it in the form of a bell. As it is quoted by Hazrat Aisha, sometimes he comes to me after a bell rings, and that is heavy time for me. This was quoted by Prophet. If you are not able to memorize this, you can also come on this one. During these occasions, Prophet forehead would sweat, or that his face would become very red. You can memorize one of them, or if you memorize both of them, it will be really important. As if you forget one, you will be able to use the other. Or you know that in Islamiyat, you don't have to, like in my experience, you don't have to memorize each and every different reference for each topic. If you memorize a total of 40 for the life of Medina, 40 regarding the compilation, the revelation, the history of Quran, you will be able to repeat them and again and again. Especially when you go towards the 5 Quranic passages, like those are on the oneness of Allah, Allah's relation with His created world, and Allah's relation with His messenger. If you even learn the references, the narrations of those surahs, you will be able to use that narrations repeatedly and again in your questions. So you will not face that problem of learning references, different references for each and every question. I would suggest you all. And after this one, I will also share the list of references with you. After he used to sit, he would receive the revelations, and then it comes that he would also used to receive revelations, and it was narrated by Zayd bin Sabit that Holy Prophet was resting on his thigh at the time of receiving revelation. The force, the impact of revelation was so hard that the concluding paragraph, especially in Islamiyat in 10 months, you will write that Quran was revealed in the span of 23 years, then the months, then the days. For example, when Holy Prophet was fallen on the death of second son in infancy, Surah Qasr was revealed. Like Surah Qasr was revealed when he was called Abdar by his enemies, such as Abu Lahab. So, so Allah consoled him by the revelation of Surah Qasr. When there was a gap, the revelations, that gap period, Prophet was really worried. And Makkans would said that Allah had forgot you, Muhammad, Allah had forgot you. So for the consolidation, Allah revealed Surah Duha. It's really good. Now there are similar questions. That these questions are for question number one, like the material in question number one, this one. The things that are told in this question can also come in form of these questions, like the write an account of different ways in revelation, write about prophets, different experience of revelation, write an account of ways in which prophet was revealed, Quran was revealed. Then comes the compilation of Quran, one of the most important one. And Quran was compiled many times. The questions come regarding this. Now they were you guys not revealed in an order. The order was given when once it was fully complete. So the compilation of Quran started in the period of Hazrat Abu Bakr, the most important period, under the main scribes. The main scribe was Zayd bin Thabit. It also continued in the period of Hazrat Umar and in the period of Hazrat Usman. So the question comes, write about the way in which the Quran, you have to tell the procedure how the Quran was compiled. There's no need to tell about the background, a long background, only a background of 2 lines that how much period the Quran was revealed or what was Quran. Not no need of that huge background like it was revealed on Prophet and then Prophet like that all those story of revelation, no need to discuss here. We will start that Quran was revealed to Prophet. Be particular, not like this 23 years. Be particular, 22 years, months, and then days. He will tell that how it was gathered at the time it was revealed. It was gathered on the piece of leather, on date, skin, or even bone and stones. These were then the revelation the Prophet would was that were revealed of Prophet would be noted down by his scribes. One of that scribe was Zayd bin Sabit, and many of them, many of his companions committed the Quran to their memory, like they memorized Quran forever, so that it became a part of their memory, except writing it on paper, on stones and on pieces of leather, they would memorize the Quran. That was an important part because the Arabs had a sharp memory before, so like they would memorize it. It was considered better. And then we will talk about during the life of Prophet, how it was compiled, like how it was gathered, noted in the time of Prophet. Because the question talks about the overall compilation after the Prophet's death, there's no need to talk much about the compilation during the period of Prophet. There's no need to talk. We started during the lifetime of Prophet. Revelation was a constant process. The reason I told you before, it was not possible that Quran could be revealed after the death of Prophet. The process of revelation came to an end. Now you will tell about the main reason due to which it was considered or there was a feel needed that Quran should be compiled. It was after the battle of Yamama against the false prophets. As Prophet, as Hazrat uh, as in the caliphate of Hazrat Abu Bakr, one of his companions realized that many of the Hafiz of Quran were martyred in the battle of Yamama. And as this continued, as it was stored in the brain of people, in the mind of people, the Quran could be lost. There was a potential threat. So Hazrat Umar insisted Abu Bakr again and again. Hazrat Abu Bakr denied it how he could compile Quran. The reason was that he was like suspicious that if Prophet didn't even give an order in his time to compile the Quran, why should I? But after seeing the scenario and all the conditions, he was angry. Hazrat Abu Bakr made a committee. That committee was of scribes, and that head of the scribe was Zayd. And when he was given the task, Abu Bakr narrated him that you are a wise man, and we don't have any suspicion about you. You use the divine revelation for the Prophet, so you should search for the scripts of Quran and collect it in the book. The scripts were that written form of Quran that were wrote by the people. Hazrat Zayd but was told to give this work. But like he was not like totally clear that whether should he do or not. So moving the mountain from its original site it would be easier for me rather than the compilation. Okay guys, wait a minute. I will be back in 30 seconds. Then we will continue from here. Okay, I'm Brian. So we will continue from here with them. I was here that that if I would given a task to remove the mountain from its original site, it would be easier for me than the compilation. Despite Hazrat Zayad accepted the commission, accepted the task, he gave huge, like his role was very important. He did many hardships in collecting, checking and reconciliation, and his very companion Holy Prophet producing the compilation of Quran. Hazrat Abu Bakr was himself a Hafiz, so he reviewed whatever Zayad added in the Quran and would also make the changes that were necessary to keep the narrations, to keep the revelation, to keep the surahs as much relevant as possible. Because these were the words of Allah, and there was no chance that like these words can be mixed or like it was not acceptable if a mistake would have been placed. After this, the Quran was given to Hazrat Umar, who then gave it to Hazrat Hafsa. So it was named, the first copy was named as Afri Hafsa. Then it comes the period of Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Usman. The Islamic Empire, there was great amount of expansion. It was expanded towards the Byzantine Empire and Persian Empire. So Hazrat Anas, one of the companions, noticed that there was a fight. There was a fight among the tribes in the dialect of Quran. Dialect is the method of recitation of Quran. So he noticed it was also in the Muslim army. So he noticed that if it would continue, there would be a chance of different variations in Islam, like now they are. That shouldn't be, and I agree that they shouldn't be now. So, like he said, that there would be a chance that there could be factions. So he came to Usman and told that save this nation before they differ about the book, just like Christian and Jew did before. They are Catholic Christians and Orthodox Christians. So, like Hazrat Anas and Hazrat Huzaifa have noticed all, and they said that they don't want the condition that like Muslims face the same condition as Christians and Jews are facing them. Hazrat Usman also realized that there should be a single dialect to keep the unity of Muslims. Now the dialect was selected, the dialect of Quraysh. It was selected the dialect of Quraysh because the Quran was revealed on the Quraysh, so it was most relevant to select that dialect. The duty was given to Hazrat Abdullah bin Zubair, Hazrat Saad bin Al-As, Abdul Rahman bin Haris. Hazrat Usman instructed them to decide the dialect of chapters, and if they're unable to reach any decision, they should decide on the dialect of Quraysh. Hazrat Zayd bin Sabit also collected the fragments again, including the Mushaf Hafsa, and went along the same task that he went before during the compilation of Mushaf Hafsa. He also compared his work, like the new work with Mushaf Hafsa, and the new copies that were made was transferred by Hazrat Usman to the provincial capitals, to Makkah, to Syria, Yemen, Bahrain, to Basra and Kufa. He also ordered to burn all other copies because he don't want any type of issue regarding the recitation of Quran, as it would be a major setback for Islam. So, like he said, that only these new copies would be acceptable. After this, the same question, almost same question, come describe the ways in which Abu Bakr, Umar and Usman revealed. In this same, you don't have to add the previous period of Hazrat Muhammad. You will only add the period of Abu Bakr, Usman and Umar. In the period of Abu Bakr, you would tell about Battle of Yamama and the transferring of the task to Hazrat Zayd bin Sabit, how he collected the verses, revelation, and he gave it in the form of Mushaf Hafsa. After that, look here, you will come in the period of Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Usman, the most important one. You will tell the problem in the different form of dialects that could cause uprising in Islam later on. So you will tell that the companions that were selected, Abdullah bin Zubair, Saad bin Al-As, and Abdul Rahman bin Haris, that was selected for the corrections, and so that there would be no chance of uprisings again. After that, you would tell that the final copy was made, that was transferred to the provincial capital like Bukhara, Syria, Yemen. Usman ordered that all the previous copies will be burned so that there will be no form of or no chance of uprising again. The same question comes here, right, about the preservation of Quran in the homes held by Hafsa. In this, you will not probably, but let me check. So then, you will not talk about the period of Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Usman. You will only talk about the period of Hazrat Abu Bakr, because remember, the Mus'haf held by Hafsa was compiled in the period of Hazrat Abu Bakr. So you will only discuss that. In this, 10 markers, so you have to tell in detail, so that you start from period of the Muhammad, like in his time it was preserved in the pieces of leather, its skins, even bones in the stones. Then you will tell that Zayd bin Sabit said, whenever Prophet dictated me the verses, I wrote them, recited them before him, and he made corrections if there were any, like any type of correction, so that not a single wrong word or a single wrong narration was written. After that, we will type that during the Prophet's period, it was not possible that Quran could be compiled, and there's not even a need, because like people were memorizing it, and there was no threat, but there was not even a thought in anyone's mind that something like that would happen. That the scenario, any scenario that came, most importantly after the Battle of Yamama, we'll talk that Hazrat Umar convinced Hazrat Abu Bakr, all that method of Hazrat, that he gave task to Hazrat Zaid, how he collected verses, how he compiled the Quran, gave it into a form of Mus'haf. That Mus'haf was given to Hazrat uh, Hafsa, and it was known as Mus'haf Hafsa. And thank you guys. This would be all for today, because if you guys will not able to learn these questions, and I will move towards the sources of Islamic law, you guys will be confused. For today, your task is to learn the procedure of revelation. The first revelation, the most important, not the second and third. You guys should first learn the procedure of first revelation. Then you guys should go towards the ways of revelation. Ways of revelation. I told you there were 5 ways. You have to learn those 5 ways. That 5 ways were in the form of Hazrat Daya bin Kalbi, in the form of heart. He would receive it in the form of a Bedouin man. He would receive it in his heart. He would receive it in his dream. And sometimes he would receive it in the form of Angel Jibreel when he would be in his angelic form. And he would also receive with the voices of ringing of bell or sound of bees. That was the most hardest. So I hope you guys will complete this all, and I will be uploading lectures. There will be past paper sessions every Saturday. So I hope you guys will follow on. I will meet you all inshallah on next Saturday. Until then, Allah Hafiz.